I get a little misty-eyed anytime I think of Java and the fact that it no longer is enabled because I can't play Flash games normally anymore, and that used to be just the best thing in the world as a kid. Now, hear me out. I'm a little older, so I remember these things, but back in the day, you used to be able to go to a website and just play really cool games using the Java extension. Today, I'd like to cover a few of those games or sites that I feel were super pivotal, not just for myself, but for a ton of kids my age back in the day when it came to internet play. Let's get started. So, of course, you've heard of some of the big ones. Any of the games that appear on Newgrounds.com that you were totally not supposed to play as a kid, or, cool math games, or even RuneScape, one of the most popular games ever on the internet. However, I'm going to talk about a few that may not be so well known. Also, honorable mention to the Hotel Management Scavenger Hunt Cartoon Network game. I wasn't going to talk about it, but you should know it was one of the greatest games ever constructed. And it was a scavenger hunt where you hung out with all the characters from Cartoon Network. That's about it. But it was very good. It was a long fucking game. So, the first of these sites I'd like to talk about is what I consider to be one of the most important sites when it comes to the history of anime culture as it currently exists, at least here in America. And it seems weird, but you're gonna have to hear me out. For anybody 30 and older, I'm about to psychically blast your brain. Do you remember Gaia Online? That one. Yeah, don't look away. We were cringe. We were cringe together. That's right. The original forum-based website did eventually spawn into a full avatar supporting system, which eventually would likely inspire things like the Kinect minis, the Miis of the Wii world, and tons of others that we see now in instant messaging and IM apps. But back in the day, Gaia Online was a little different. See, they had things like towns, a racing game, they had this whole story about all the different people in the world, and it was all forum-based. So a lot of what you did really was just going into messaging boards and talking to other people. But it did eventually spawn into some other things. They had an active trading market, which was where I got into my first bout of trouble of racketeering. They had a ton of other places to go to play little mini games, like I said, driving stuff and whatnot. But the big appeal was the customization. You see, Gaia Online let you do just about anything when it came to designing your character. You had a nice little regular humanoid figure, and you would add clothes and stuff based on whatever was popular. Bear in mind, this is the 2000s, so I'm talking like Euro, industrial, hardcore goth, like big fucking Melbourne shuffle pants, the whole works, man. It was a wild time. It was a lot of fun though. And it was a little weird to see at the end of its life cycle as it began to drop off. I think it got a little too big for its britches and it became more than what it could sustain. But for a long time, Gaia Online would be one of the first places I cut my teeth interacting with other people in the anime scene, talking about different games, shows, or movies that I happen to like, and expanding my own palette with people from across the globe. It was quite the interesting situation, and I don't think that we're likely to see such unregulated things, except VR chat exists. So, that's a thing. It's pretty close to it. All in all, thank you, Gaia, for being cringe and for letting us customize and figure ourselves out. I miss you fondly, my friend. The next website I'd like to mention on this list would be Artix.com. Yeah, that one. Why? Because it's the best, okay? We're talking about MechQuest. We're talking about Adventure Quest, AQO, which was their own MMO that they eventually launched. They had Dragon Fable, which was like the Dragon Champion specific one. It was one of the first games that came with the whole DLC thing, if you want to consider it that, because there were particular items or buy-ins that you could purchase that went to funding the actual company itself. Again, these are folks putting together this whole thing in their computers for a website for us to enjoy. But, these things would end up becoming very impactful. Whether it was a VIP membership to get yourself an All Blade so you can become a super powerful champion, or if you were like myself and, you had a dragon amulet, your own pet dragon who was fully customizable, it was quite the trip. And the website, as well as all of its various mini games, whether it's the sci-fi adventure of MechQuest or the hyper fantasy of Adventure Quest, they were all interconnected. Everything kind of referenced itself and was also built on a huge pop culture reference base that was kind of fantastic. So if you didn't know something, you eventually figured it out. And as you were going through the real world, you would see the parallel, and it's kind of like, aha, I get the joke now. That is very funny. Also, Dragon Fable is responsible for one of my favorite puns of all time, which is the Fort of Sirs. It's so stupid, but every person in the fort is named after a Sir something. So one of my favorites is Surprise, who is a person who runs up and scares the shit out of you all the time. Or Serpent, who is a guy named Pent that likes snakes. Yeah, it's kind of dumb. But, you know, they went for it for quite a few years and tried quite a few things. And I think something like that is amazingly impactful. It inspired me for a long time to pursue creative writing as well as creative reading. I think that, much like Gaia, it did eventually kind of spin into its own thing. They did try to extend the platform. They created their own launcher. It was all right. But eventually you kind of have to find what you do best and stick to it. And I think that the massive amount of variety was eventually their own undoing. That being said, I still get emails from Artix.com all the time about new updates, and it's fabulous that these people have never quit, even though Flash has stopped. Keep soldiering on, folks. I love you for it. The last one, I never played. I don't like it. I'm not fond of it. It wasn't my aesthetic, and it's not for me, but I know all of you bastards love Club Penguin, and I love all of the meme history that comes out of it. The pool is closed, among other things. And Club Penguin was a weird time. Like I said, I was never big on it myself, but a lot of other individuals that I knew were on the website, and there wasn't a lot of regulation as far as like stopping people from getting on the site and talking to kids. So that was uncomfortable. However, to say that it isn't pivotal to people my age and to meme culture as a whole would be insane. And a lot of those old Penguin memes, even now, even though the site no longer exists, are still around, and it's weird as hell to see them. Hold on, can I do the dance? What is it? Fucking And then I think it's like a turn, something. Yeah. I don't remember the dance. I didn't play it. But like I said, I acknowledge that it was a pivotal and impactful game for a lot of other folks and websites. So, you know, hey, good for you guys. All in all, it may seem a little weird to look back at these older games and think, wow, I really miss them, because they were small in scale in comparison to AAA games or the massive media giants that control things now, but they're important, man. Some of these games went on to inspire some of these folks to make the games that you love today, or movies, or books, or maybe it just got them to try something that they liked, and now they know. That can't be that bad. I think it was a great experience at the time, and I think it's a shame that Flash isn't quite as accessible for a lot of people. That being said, the app, computer, and game market is kind of cluttered these days, and it's just a shame. I think that if they were to take notes from some of these older games, which still had advertising and stuff, I mean, I didn't know what the anime Tsubasa was, but I knew about it through Gaia Online because they had a Tsubasa crossover for the Blu-ray set release, and that was cool, right? But, you know, there's a way to do like ads and games and shit that isn't terrible. Or at the very least, these games did it. So, who knows? Maybe looking back at the past ain't so bad after all. But what do you think? Were you more of a RuneScape person yourself? Did you try other browser games? I'm not talking about any of the shit on Newgrounds here. I know all the stuff that's on there. You know all the stuff that's on there. That's not appropriate for this platform, but yeah, Newgrounds too. So what were you on? What did you play? Let me know down below and let's talk about it. Or you can share this with a friend and you guys can start that conversation yourselves. Either way, I just wanted to say that those were the cool days back then. So, yeah.